together fight the foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the top. Pull together till the Grey Cups won. Go Argos, go, go, go! Go Toronto Argos, go, go, go! Pull together, fight the foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the top. Pull together till the Grey Cups won. Go Argos, go Toronto, go. Go Argos, go, go, go.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Argo Bounce Podcast show, Season 4, Episode 5, with Nick Small and myself. And we're back from our bye week, and we have a lot to talk about with the Argos losing their last game on July 4th, 51-38 to those Hamilton Tiger Cats. And then the Argos have a Thursday night encounter with the Montreal Alouettes. And Nick, we're at the game in Hamilton on Saturday night. Your thoughts on the Hamilton 23-20 comeback win over Ottawa as well?
Yeah, hey Chris. So yeah, it was kind of a fun time for us. Unbeknownst to us, we ended up going to the same game in Hamilton between Ottawa and Hamilton. It was a fun experience. It's a little different watching a game when you don't have a dog in the fight, and sometimes I think it gets overlooked because of the rivalry between Argos fans and Ticats fans. It's quite accessible that we have the ability to go to both teams' games, and I highly encourage everybody to give it a try at least once, see a game as a neutral fan, or maybe sort of indirectly supporting one team over the other. It was an entertaining game. Maybe the first half was a little bit slower than people might have wanted to see. One thing I have to bring up is I know I've been critical on some people who have been really quick to chase Arbuckle out, to want Tucker Hornan to replace him, or changes within the roster, the personnel or whatnot, booing our own team at BMO Field. But I can tell you, very different story in Hamilton. In that first half, like I thought the fans were ready to storm the field and rip off half the team's players. Like their tension was really high, and they were already at a boiling point. And I don't know if that just comes with the history of challenges the team's faced over the last 25 years, unable to win a Grey Cup, or the stakes of that game, being able to be in first place with this win that they were able to come back and win. But it definitely seemed very tense among Ticat fans themselves during the game. But then once kind of things started to turn around, things kind of fell apart for Ottawa. Hamilton was able to come back and win. It really sort of boosted up the morale of the fan base, and they were loud by the late stages of the third quarter, early fourth quarter in that game.
By the way, Nick, and I'm going to say this, and I might be booed by the Argo fans, but Argo fans have been really spoiled the last 40 years. And Hamilton, since I've been alive for 53 years, has only won the Grey Cup 3 times, 72, 86, and 99. So they're getting a little impatient. But I'm going to be honest with you. I know it's early in the season, but Hamilton has a very good defense. I like that secondary. I still think the Argos miss Peters and Amos. And the only concern I have with the Tiger Cats right now is their running game. Obviously, Bell is out with an injury. The running game really hasn't been able to get worked up. I talked to Scott Melinovich about it, and he said, yeah, we're going to try to they want to get the running game going, because their passing game, they have a very good passing game, and they have great receivers. But if another team's defense takes away their passing game, they're going to be one-dimensional. So Yeah, my only concern with the Cats right now is their lack of running attack. But as for Ottawa, Ottawa played them tough defensively, but they had 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles, and 2 interceptions, and that did them in right there. And Hamilton's defense got off to a bad start. Ottawa opened up a drive, went up 7-0, but I knew, and a lot of people knew at halftime when the score was 7-4. It was just a matter of time. And Kenny Lawler was contained in the first half with 2 catches for 20 yards. And then in the second half, he ended up with 4 catches, I think, for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Kenny Lawler's been in the league for a while now. 7 touchdowns on the season, and that's a career high for him. That speaks of the talent of Kenny Lawler, but also his chemistry with Bo Levi Mitchell, and Bo Levi Mitchell looks as good as he ever has, Nick, as of right now.
Yeah, when I look back at how things I take away from the game, definitely that running aspect on both sides of the football. Both Ottawa and Hamilton were struggling to run the ball. Hey, Rich. Sorry to cut out, but we did watch the game together, sitting in the corner behind the Hamilton bench area, which was a weird experience as an Argos fan. So the running game was kind of weak on both sides of the ball. What I find really weird with Hamilton, though, specifically, is that they tend to run a very heavy package. If you notice, they're often running 6 offensive linemen, sometimes even 7, if you count like that pseudo tight end, slot back wide receiver moving up. So they were kind of running in a very run forward offense, a big offensive line that they really tried to emphasize throughout the game, but they didn't really get those yards quite that they wanted to, I think, on the ground from it. And then in terms of the play, yeah, I mean, Bo Levi Mitchell clearly shows he's still got the intelligence, the football knowledge out there to get the ball where he needs to. He made some really smart decisions during that game and avoided coughing the ball up. Defensively, I mean, I thought Ottawa's defense was very similar to Toronto's. They were playing really well, good tight man coverage, but the thing that was the difference in the first half compared to the Toronto game was that they were able to get the hands in on those 50-50 balls. They were able to knock a couple down, get in the way where they needed to, and then they kind of lost that in the second half. The sort of exclamation point of it being that catch in the end zone by Kenny Lawler. We were sitting right in that very corner that he made that catch in, so we had as good a view of it as anybody. So yeah, I think just Ottawa let the game slip away from them, and I think like the moment that really turned it around was that Pimpleton fumble. We were saying amongst the group of us that went from hero to zero real quick with that mistake.
By the way, this is the first time in 1,330 days or 4 years since the Hamilton Tiger Cats have been in first place and had a record over 500. So congratulations to them. And they've had big wins against Montreal and Toronto and Ottawa. And the Cats are back in action on Sunday against the Ottawa Red Blacks, who are pretty well getting desperate. Right now at 1-5. I like their team, but they make too many mistakes, and they couldn't get the running game going either. Actually, you got to give the credit to both defenses. They did a nice job. It was good to see Daniel Oboye. I wish he had gotten the ball a little bit more, but Ottawa, Scott Melinovich said this too. He goes, they're better than what the record is, and this was our hardest win of the season. And he expects another tough game against Ottawa. And as for the Argos, they lost 51-38. They obviously scored 38 points. Generally will win you a lot of football games. And Grant had a touchdown, which I called. But unfortunately, they had no answers defensively for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I almost said Detroit Tigers. And every time the Argos tried to get back into this game, Hamilton just punched them back in the mouth. So as much as you hate the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Argo fans, you got to give them credit. They've beaten the Argos 4 straight times now, and they came into Toronto and scored 51 points. And that doesn't happen very often. I think the last team to score 50-plus points against the Argos at BMO Field was the Cats in 2019, I believe, with 63 points.
Oh yeah, that's a game I'd never want to relive, and I think we've already brought it up way too many times on the show. Yeah, and like I said earlier, the challenge was that those 50-50 balls that Toronto defensive backs, guys like Benji Franklin, who was covering Kenny Lawler most of the game, balls that he would normally knock down or manage to punch away, wasn't able to do that there in that game against Hamilton. So that was the factor. But everybody seems to forget. Everybody who keeps grilling Nick Arbuckle, wanting him out, he threw for more yards than Bo Levi Mitchell that game. So he was not the problem. If you cover up the score that Hamilton had, and you say, "Hey, Toronto's putting up 38 points," are you going to take that and expect we to win the game? Argos fans would say absolutely, but not if you give up 51. So that was entirely on the defense, and I think they own up to it, and they're going to bounce back with a better game. They statistics have shown they generally have had a much better game defensively when they've given up a 40 or more point game.
Davis Alexander is going to be the starting quarterback for the Alouettes on Thursday, so that's going to present a number of challenges for this Argonaut team. I think the bye week probably came at a good time, Nick. Obviously, with the injuries and stuff like that. You were at practice today, Nick. So I wasn't there. So tell us and our audience a little bit about practice and who's going to be in for this game and who's going to be out for Thursday.
Yeah, practice went quite well, actually. I thought the vibe's definitely there, and I think the fact that they're going back to Montreal, a place they've already played in week one, it's kind of a very similar scenario to last season because they lost the home opener. I think it was a home opener. It might have been like the second or third home game of the season, but they lost early in the season in Montreal. And then we went into Montreal and won. So it's kind of similar to that. I find there's some good positive energy coming back in. I think because of how the things went that first game, they've got a chip on their shoulder, and the Argos know that they can play better against them. In terms of the injury chart, so to me, it looks like Chad Kelly and Jack Cassar are not ready to come back yet. Ryan Hunter he aggravated something during the bye week, so he is now out. And then in terms of guys coming back, though, the big positives, Derek Parrish, Win McManus, and Deontay McMahon are all in, and I think it's expected that they all will be dressed to play starting. I don't know what level of reps they're going to get in the game, but they're ready to play. And then Darius Sirocco, this is the big good news because he was in a walking boot at the end of that first Montreal game, and it looked like it could be a really long-term thing. Well, he was full in practice as well, so he might again be one of these guys who they might ease into the game at some point. They might not have him play from snap start to finish, but definitely he'll be back in the lineup, which is a great thing to have. Sorry, go ahead.
You want to talk about some player transactions today too, Nick? I guess they released Kevin Brown again, and they released defensive back Donald Rutledge and another linebacker Daniel. Kwan Yu.
Daniel Cuomo.
Cuomo, Brown, and Rutledge. Thoughts on the release of them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can be too surprised with Kevin Brown getting released again, just as guys like McMahon, hopefully later Williams come back in the lineup. Same with Cuomo. Like, unfortunately, you just and Donald Rutledge, like you just got to make room for somebody, and unfortunately, that's kind of what it has led to. And I think with the way Martin played, Jarrett Martin played in the last two games against Ottawa and Hamilton, I think there's just that. There's just, I think, that lean towards taking him, and maybe I guess Kenneth George Jr. if he comes back healthy over Rutledge. So I guess there's the mentality behind that, and like the challenge with the linebackers with Cuomo being gone, like you have McManus, Cassar, Judge, Varga, and Casey now. So, I think unfortunately, you just got to make room somehow. And whoever's that back on the roster, another example I see too is like Kurgi Mayala, a guy who looks amazing in practice, made some amazing catches today, and he off shout out and give credit to was Akeem Dankwa, who will probably be taking Ryan Hunter's spot in that right tackle position. I was talking to both Ben Grant of X's and Argos and Mike Hogan, who was on our show, I think last week. We were talking about him, and so I started talking about Chris Schultz and how big a guy he was, and Mike Hogan points to Danquan and says he's the same size as Chris Schultz was, 6'8", but he's 50 pounds heavier. The guy's an absolute monster, and if he has the speed to play that tackle position, that's huge, because now it opens up Ryan Hunter to potentially playing the other side. I think they've got more playing it right now. I'm just kind of going off how they dressed for the last week. So between them, if you've got Sirocco maybe coming back in, one of the guard positions, maybe easing in with Dox Tater or Vandal or John Boss, like there's a lot of good coming out there on the O-line right now, as long as they can execute and keep Arbuckle protected.
Nick, we've talked about this before too. They haven't been able to get the running game going at all. Who will be the starting running back against Montreal? And Montreal, to me, I think still has the best or one of the best defenses in the league. How do the Argos going about attacking this defense, especially when their running game hasn't been there this year so far?
Yeah, I think what we kind of saw is that power running hasn't really been their strength this season. With Brown being cut and the looking like Mac Mahon's coming back in, you'll probably have Mac Mahon and LeBourne in as the 1 and 2 running backs. It doesn't seem like Mayan Williams, whatever. My understanding is that whatever happened with that like eye injury, it also is an orbital bone issue. So like the bone behind the flesh around the eye, so it's that's what's causing the swelling. To again, I don't know 100%, but that's what I've heard. So he could be out still for some time. I think they got to work into what's more sort of the strengths of Mac Mahon. He's not quite that power north-south running back. I think you might see some more of the plays like the kind of pitching it out and kind of getting him in space where he can use that speed, screens and swing passes and things like that. They might have to look to stuff like that rather than just straight power running it up the gut. So.
And Nick, I know it's only 1 and 4. They're playing Montreal quality team Thursday. Then they've got 2 games, I think, back to back against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So I'm not saying it's the end of the world if they lose this game and go to 1 and 5, but then they've got Winnipeg twice. So it's basically they need to start getting some wins, just like Ottawa, and it would really help. It would really help their confidence if they could get a win in Montreal against a very good Alouettes team and get back to at least 2 and 4.
Yeah, I mean, there's still, like we said, there's still time, but you're starting now where you forget winning the division. You're almost now having to worry about the crossover because Saskatchewan's got 1 loss, Calgary's got 1 loss, I think, Winnipeg's got 1 loss, I think, and BC's got 2 losses, I think. So like it's getting a little nerve-wracking that if Ottawa and Toronto are both sitting here with only able to muster up 1 win, in Montreal and Hamilton each win another game. With Hamilton's going into Ottawa this week, it puts them in a pretty big hole where now you're starting to have to now look at the West teams and try to leapfrog them. The one good thing I will say though, like I talked about Montreal already, but with Winnipeg, it's a little down the road, but we have typically matched up fairly well against Winnipeg, even in the regular season. Like last year, we almost beat them with Cam Dukes at quarterback. So in Winnipeg, so there's definitely some positive things you can feed into. The season's not over yet.
No, I totally agree. Nick, since we brought this up, who's the biggest surprise in the CFL this year and the biggest disappointment so far? For me, I got to go as the biggest surprise would be the Calgary Stampeders. I was going to say Saskatchewan, but Calgary to me is the biggest surprise. And the biggest disappointment this year, I guess you have to go with the Argos because they are the defending Grey Cup champions so far.
Yeah, I mean, with Toronto, the disappointment just kind of is plagued with a lot of injuries. I think the biggest Calgary is a weird one because a lot of those passes that Vernon Adams have been throwing are those kind of high risk 50-50 balls, and so far they've been able to come down with them. So I don't know what the long term feasibility of the Vernon Adams play right now, if it's going to be sustainable or not. But definitely for well, I can't really say they've been struggling that much because they've only been really a basement level team for the last season, maybe two. Edmonton's been struggling way worse. I honestly think that's maybe the biggest disappointment because
The
you've
Elks.
got a new coach. Yeah, you've thrown $1 million at players that used to play for the Argos that won the Grey Cup with them, and you're trying to provide new culture, new energy, and then you go out and get completely stomped by the BC Lions, a team that on paper you should at least be on par with. Like I could see them getting stomped by Winnipeg or but to get stomped by BC is probably not a good look for them. Yeah, Toronto's disappointing. I'd say the one positive one, actually, I hate to say it, but it's probably Hamilton with that win. It's given them and their fan base a big morale boost that they didn't have not that long ago. Like we saw there in that game, they were ready to riot at halftime, but then it was really loud and very positive vibes. Out in the stand there, 23,000 or so of them that were there at Tim Hortons Field. So yeah, it was pretty loud by the end of the game.
Nick, what are your thoughts on the BC Lions? They're now 500, 3-3. I just don't know. They have a good team, but I just don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
about them.
yeah, they're really Jekyll and Hyde. They barely scraped a win, a comeback win against Montreal, a game that they probably shouldn't have won. As much as you could argue Montreal threw it away. And then they go out and they destroy Edmonton, but of course that's not a high bar because Edmonton's been the worst team in the league for so long. Um, but yeah, and then when they've played other teams in the West, they've really struggled. Like they struggled against the two games against Winnipeg. So, and even Winnipeg, they play Calgary at home this week, and they got trounced in that Stampede Bowl game by Calgary. So, yeah, it's this year has been one of the hardest ones to predict. I found like normally I'm in the positive records of predictor, and like this year I'm like barely at 500. It's been really difficult to feels like again like anybody can beat anybody in any given week.
There's no gimme games in this league, regardless of your record. And I know some Cat fans are like, we're going to beat Ottawa again Sunday because we're 3-2 and they're 1-5. I wouldn't be shocked if Ottawa won Sunday, and they're capable of playing with the Hamilton Tiger Cats if they can cut out the penalties at the end of the game and cut out the miscues. And they had a 15-yard roughing the penalty on Mitchell at the end of the game too, which was
Yeah,
just as bad as that fumble. So if Ottawa can clean up their game with the miscues and penalties. By the way, Hamilton, 7 penalties in that first half for 70 yards. Second half, they had 0.
yeah.
And that's because the coaching staff read them the riot act at halftime, and the Tiger Cats were much more disciplined in the second half of that game as well. And that's a key for the Argos in this game against Montreal. Besides having a clean game, no interceptions and fumbles, they got to try to stay disciplined. You cannot afford to get 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 penalties. And against the Hamilton game, what did they have? 10 penalties again?
Yeah, what's been the big challenge is that I find offensively it's those because Arbuckle really likes to run that hard count. They've caught their own guys out offside on it a few times, so that's where I think like if you're looking at anything offensively that really needs to be tweaked, it would probably be that. But I mean, yeah, the yardage they were able to put up marching down the field last week against Hamilton was fine, and then defensively they've just hopefully they've learned from that first game against Davis Alexander how they're going to be able to counter him in those 2nd and 10s because they left a lot of 2nd and 10s for Montreal to be able to convert.
Nick, what are the biggest concerns right now with this Argonaut team besides the injuries? And do you feel the bye week might help this team getting ready for the Montreal game on Thursday?
Yeah, I mean it absolutely should. That they were in kind of a tough stretch there. Like that, don't forget that Hamilton game was on a short week of rest. They only were really able to get 2 practices in. And then this week, they weren't really able to get as much practice off the bye week either, because they kind of had a light practice Sunday, I believe. Monday, they really couldn't practice because of the smog advisory in Toronto, the wildfire smoke. So it was really just a walkthrough. And then today was kind of their only real proper day of full practice in like 35-degree heat. So I think as much as anything, what I think's hurting them is that they haven't had the kind of practice time or quality practice time that you want as a coach to really run through everything. Like you try to move in what you can do indoors. You try to do, I'm guessing, like, weight room stuff. You do a lot of watching film and working indoors where you can on things, but to not really being able to execute it in practice to the extent you like, I think that's what's probably hurting them more than anything else. And then, yeah, I think going to injuries, it's not just that you've got a lot of injuries. Now the injuries are kind of going down, but it's the quality guys. You're missing Winnie McManus, your best defensive player. You're missing Jack Cassar, your best special teams player, and you're missing Chad Kelly, your best offensive player. If you take any team in the league, you take Hamilton, you get rid of Bo Levi Mitchell, you get rid of Kenny Lawler, you get rid of I don't know, Katsantonis, I would guess, on the defense. You take any top 3 players of any team in the league, and it's hard for them to win. So that's kind of the situation they're stuck in right now.
What's your, without speculating, what's your gut feeling? Who's starting on Thursday for the Argonauts? You feel it'll be Nick Arbuckle?
Oh, it'll absolutely be Arbuckle. Chad wasn't even at practice, so there's absolutely zero chance they're dressing someone who hasn't even been to practice, let alone taking reps. And like I don't know if it has to do the injury or something else. That's beyond my knowledge. But the point is that you're not dressing someone who hasn't been to practice. That's kind of like a football rule, I think, in this stage. Like you can't throw someone untrained to the dogs like that.
I think his injury is a little more severe than everybody was led on to believe. So maybe, who knows? We'll see. I got to ask you this: who's going to be the number 2? Is it going to be Tucker Horn as the backup?
Yeah, I would think so. I don't know. I don't know, like, because they've had Daggy still do like short yardage stuff. So I don't know if they're still going to go that way, because like we've seen it in practice, we haven't really seen it in the game. So I don't know what to expect from that. Yeah, as long as Arbuckle's playing the way it has been, I don't see any reason to take him out, because he hasn't been the reason why they've been losing games. In fact, I would strongly argue that every single game he's played in this year, if you rewatch every game, he's gotten progressively better in each and every game.
Hey, Nick, since we're halfway through the show, I'm going to play a clip from the Toronto Argonauts official YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you're an Argo fan, even if you're a Hamilton fan. And it was from today's practice, and we'll play this clip right now. Give me 1 second, Nick.
Back looking as opposed to being there and just kind of observing. What did you learn about this offense?
I learned you just got to be patient. When coach calls plays, like they're gonna hit, you just got to trust it. Trust that everybody's gonna do their job, and we're gonna execute that play. What
do you do when you're out of lineup to keep yourself strong mentally? Because it's the most frustrating thing in the world for an athlete not to be able to put the cleats on.
No doubt. Try to chat it up with my teammates around me. But most importantly, staying locked in. But you got to have that good atmosphere, if you will, to keep a great mindset in order to come back from an injury.
Anything you look at the Montreal team that you've already faced before, when you look at them, how do you think you're going to help the team to come up with a win?
Right. Getting out on the perimeter. That's my game. And I think we're going to stick with that, catching the ball outside as well. And just, like I told him, executing plays.
How tough is it to be out of the lineup when you've had kind of these spurts throughout the last few years where you're out of the lineup, back in, and all you want to do is play? How difficult is it mentally to get through that?
Man, it's not easy. It's all something that kind of comes with the game, and you understand that. But man, as much as I can, I want to be out there on the field. I want to try to help, man. But it's kind of good. I guess it's good for the leader in me. It's good to kind of get some other guys on the field and, for people to be able to get their feet wet and, kind of see what we got. But, at the same time, just kind of eats up at me and, over time. And, I try to kind of figure out what I can do off the field or, something different and change up something in my game to kind of help me stay on the field.
Coach Shivers, I was talking to him about the defense and how frustrating it must be because, especially in the Calgary and Hamilton games, it looked like everybody's in position, but they were getting the 50-50 balls. You guys weren't. How frustrating is it as a defender knowing you're doing the right things as a group, but they're still making the plays?
Yeah, I think that just goes down to some of our habits. We just kind of got to get used to, not letting receivers catch the ball and making plays on the ball. But, a lot of those things is, something that we could change up and fix it. Something that happened in the beginning of the play, not necessarily, just at the end of the play when they caught the ball. But, it's all a part of the game. Like I said, man, we got to roll with the punches, though. We just got to make sure some of those catches are not touchdowns.
So you've been here, Dinwiddie's been here, and there hasn't been this slump, right? You've 1-4. As a leader, do you find it more important that you've got to make sure guys are coming to work every day and keeping spirits up, or do you think that this room is veteran enough where they don't need that?
I think the culture around here that we have keeps everybody's spirits up. No one around here feels like a loser. No one around here has a loser mentality. None of us, like I said, feel 1-4. We just know we have to have some urgency and detailing and urgency and getting the job done, the urgency and just trying to be right, and things like that will follow. But none of us kind of feel like, we're a bad team and things like that. Just some things we got to clean up, and we understand that.
You still have your knee wrapped up a little bit. How are you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. We right on time.
The coach was talking about the expectations that he has for you guys coming back, you and D-Money. What do you want to see in yourself when you hit the field on Thursday in Montreal from yourself?
I want to see myself fly around, make some plays, but ultimately in the game, I'm on my own 2 feet, feeling good and ready to go into the next game.
How much fun are you having?
I'm having a lot of fun. It's good to be back over here. Just enjoying the air, enjoying the environment with my teammates.
What's the biggest thing you've learned coming back and playing on this side of the border again?
About the CFL game? Yeah. Really just how disciplined you got to be. I mean, it's 2-down football, so you got to be more like more focused because, back down south is 3 down. You go 3 down here, like you got to have a 2 and out and it's over. So the biggest thing I've learned is just to stay composed and be focused.
Probably a little bit more run heavy on a wet game, like this one's coming up. That plays to your long suit, I assume?
Yes, I'm very, very, very excited for that.
Why does that work for you? Aside from the obvious size advantage you're going to have, what is it about your game that makes you happy about bad weather?
Well, just because, at the end of the day, football is a physical sport. It comes down to man versus man, winning the line of scrimmage. So I really pride myself in that run game. And, I hope my teammates feel the same way because we get to impose our will and, play football, a physical game.
How happy is your family that their baby's home?
Oh, they're really, really happy. I went home a few times and my siblings can't believe I'm back. So it's good.
How big is Thursday?
A big game. They all are, right? Each week, but obviously we're 1-4. The games get, bigger. Especially Eastern team, right? Montreal's a few games up on us, so it's a big game.
When you're doing preparation and the weather forecast is iffy, how does that alter your week?
Well, we already got our stuff kind of already in as far as the plays we're going to run, right? And then now with the weather, as far as putting the call sheet together, you plan for rain, you might change your approach compared to it being a nice day, right? So, we still find ways to throw the ball down the field, but at the same time, you got to play small ball, you got to establish the line of scrimmage, and throw those low-level routes and, run after the catch.
After the week off, what are you most confident about seeing in this next part of the schedule?
Well, I think, our work ethic's been great, right? It's just we haven't been executing that well. And, early in the season, this is, you have some growing pains, too many for us right now. But I feel like we'll be executing a lot better on offense and defense, especially special teams, right? That was a big emphasis on us. We got to win the special teams matchup every week.
Any update on who is available? Winton, man?
Yeah, so Winton and McMahon will be back. Yeah, or Mac Mahone, I guess. So he'll be back, yeah.
Okay. What the expectations do you have for both of them since they have been away for a few minutes now?
Yeah, I think just the communication on defense, when's the leader of that defense, gets all those guys lined up, right? Communicates the calls and all those things. So getting him back, I think that's going to elevate the play of the other guys. We know who Winton is. He always makes plays, right? So he's got a knack for finding the football. We need that this week. And, D-Money gives us that explosiveness, the shiftiness, even out of the backfield catching the ball that we haven't had for a few weeks.
You talked about it already, about going to Montreal and facing them. It's a team you've already faced before. What do you want to see from your team in terms of getting closer to getting another win for you guys?
Yeah, I think we said we got to win the special teams, first, and then offense and defense. One team's not doing the best, defense struggling, but we got to get turnovers on defense, right? We give them some yards, we got to get turnovers. Same thing offense, we're not hitting. At certain times we've got to take care of the football, right, and not put the defense in a tough spot. So, no pre-snap penalties, right? The penalties have been killing us. So, we play a clean game, we play physical, execute. I think we should have a great day.
And Coach, you are the pros. You don't panic. But what do you have to tell the fans who are looking at your record right now and say things don't look nice in the Argos field? What do you tell them that they don't have to panic about it?
Oh, I don't think there's anything you can tell the fans, right? I mean, obviously we have high expectations around this building, and just internally, right? And obviously the fans do as well. I'm sure they're not excited about us being 1-4, right, from what we've done in the past. But we're growing as a football club. We're putting our hard hat on and going to work and finding ways to get better.
Thank you. That clip was courtesy of the Toronto Argonauts YouTube channel. Nick, thoughts on those interviews and the job by Mike Hogan and another gentleman I don't recognize there for media.
I wish I was over there in that media scrum, but I stuck it over with the rest of the fans instead. But really, really good interviews there. That was one thing that we hadn't brought up at this point. That was a good question that Hoagie asked, because there is speculation that they might have thunderstorms and
70% chance.
Yeah,
70%
really wet weather there in Montreal. So yeah, it could definitely affect the playbook. And Mac Mahon, having him back's a great example of that, how you're able to stretch the field. A guy like him was very good east to west. If you can get the ball to him, whether it's on a swing pass or a screen or a handoff, a sweep, you can really stretch the field out that way, because we kind of saw what you needed to do in that Calgary-Ottawa game in the rain, and how Calgary kind of threw that game away because they kept turning the ball over, whereas Ottawa didn't, and they were just able to power run it so well. If they're able to do the same thing, Toronto, something happened. We lost Chris. But yeah, if they're able to do the same thing with running the ball, protecting it in the wet weather conditions, and forcing that unlucky turnover for someone like Davis Alexander, that might get them an opportunity. Welcome back, Chris.
Yes, this time it wasn't a computer glitch. My alarm clock accidentally got set to go off at 7:30, so that's why I had to step out for 20 seconds there.
Oh, all good. I think I covered that with the weather and stuff. So
yes, I was going to say that's going to be a huge factor. And Nick, I'm going to get to you right now. What are some Nick Small keys to a Toronto road win over Montreal on Thursday night?
Yeah, I think the big one is just play better offensively, defensively, special teams. Like, they put up 38 points, but they gave up too many to Hamilton there last week. But they've showed that the vibes in practice, it's the positive energy is still there, the focus is still there. It's not like this is a team that Coach Dinwiddie's lost the room of or anything like that. They're focused in and they're working really hard to win. So I think they just clean up the games, don't take those offensive penalties, so with the hard count as much as they have been, and especially if it's going to be wet, don't turn that ball over. If you have to go with the ground game, really embrace it. We've seen some really nice plays where they've done, like having Janarian Grant come around on the swing. So we've seen them run that receiver sweep. So stuff like that, just do anything that can help you stretch the field, especially when it's going to be difficult to throw the ball more than 20 yards down the field.
For me, it's going to be no turnovers, and they need to create a turnover or two against Montreal. I think number 2 key, and my key, is they got to pressure Davis Alexander. They can't let him they've really got to watch him out of the pocket too, because he can burn you with his legs. So I think they got to put him under pressure. And then I think the third key is, Nick, I think it's going to come down to how well can the Argo secondary play against the Alouettes receivers.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one kind of big thing I thought big stat takeaway was how many times Montreal was able to convert on a second and 10 or more in the first game. So I think if they can switch those to being 2 and outs or just punting situations instead of keeping drives alive and wearing them down, because the defense did play fairly well against Montreal in that game. So if they can just fix that thing defensively, that would put them in a really good spot.
Special teams too. Having Jarian Grant back is huge because he's like Isaiah Wooden Sr. for the Cats. Every time he has that ball in his hand, he's a threat. So he could be an impact in this game as well. But they have to get off to a good start. They can't afford to get down 10, 14, 20 points against Montreal on the road. So they have to have a strong first quarter against Montreal, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they have had good starts offensively the last couple of games now, but they've just haven't been able to respond defensively to hold that lead. They let Saskatchewan get back in right away, and they let Hamilton get back in right away. So if they score early, I think now it's not just that offensive has to score on that first drive they have the ball, but you've got to also find a way to force them out of it early too.
A touchdown by the defense and maybe by special teams helps too. That takes a little less pressure off the offense if special teams can contribute some points and the defense can even, let's say, get a pick six or a fumble recovery for a touchdown too.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be easy, but I think if defensively they're able to hold the Alouettes to under 25 points, I think they'll be in a situation to win. I do think the way the offense is playing right now, even without Chad Kelly, they should be able to get into that high 20s, low 30s point range offensively.
How much of an impact has that Andrew Chatfield, who came over from Ottawa, had in this Argos defensive line? And do you see him continuing his production like this for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think Chad Field's been playing great. He's been a phenomenal addition, and having Derek Parrish back now as well, it's really going to solidify him up. Like again, like we're talking to the point that we've had everybody complaining, oh, we lost all our defensive line players. Chatfield Jr. has more sacks than all the guys that went to Edmonton combined. So. Like he's playing outstanding, and like you got to give credit to the management staff, guys like John Murphy, who find these guys to fill in those holes, and I'm hoping it's still sustainable. But I mean, when a guy is playing that big, you'll probably see their offense scheming towards blocking him more. But that should hopefully lead lead Parrish to be open on the other side. Lanier II, he had a pretty decent couple of games, so it should open something up somewhere on the D line elsewhere, even if they do kind of target defending him.
Nick, the last 3 years, because of the Argos' success, they've lost a lot of guys to free agency. It's part of the business. I'm going to put you on the spot. Out of all the guys they've left, and they lost a lot of good guys the last 3 years, which player particularly hurts the most?
Well, I think directly the one that probably hurt the most was Deshaun Amos because of that interception he got in the game last week. But yeah, I would probably say it would probably be a defensive back. Because like Royce Metier in the halfback spot, I don't know quite yet if Braden's played to quite the same level as we saw from Metier. But then anywhere else, like. I really don't worry too much about the defensive line because as we've seen, the new defensive line has done quite well. And then everywhere else, like I guess the other one would probably be Kadeem Carey, just the way that the injuries have fallen out of everybody else in that running back spot. So yeah, probably between Metier or Kadeem Carey would be my pick.
Do you see the Argos at some point making another roster move or two if they continue to struggle?
Well, they have. They did sign another defensive back. I think it was a Sibo Dodsley.
Yes, he
So
was
they
in
made,
training camp. Yeah.
yeah, so they made another move there. Um, yeah, I mean, throughout the year, we'll probably see maybe another linebacker come in, another DB. They signed Brandon Calver back there in that fullback spot. So, but we still haven't really seen them even like try him as like a power runner. With the fact that like Brown or LeBourne or Williams or McMahon maybe aren't as quite a power runner as they were when they had Kadeem. But yeah, I just don't know if there's any real room in the roster right now. Like Hergy, like I said earlier, Hergy might always played great, and he can't even dress half the time because their receiving room is so deep and healthy. So yeah, there's just not really a whole lot of room to make moves, even if you're trying to add new guys in. I think everybody's just got to step their game up, is what it comes down to.
Nick, who is your X factor for this game between the Argos and Alouettes, specifically for Toronto?
I think if William McManus comes back in and plays, plays the majority of the game and is healthy, I think the guy that you're going to want to look at is Cameron Judge. I know like he was really good in the Ottawa game. People said he was good in the Hamilton game. I feel like I still want to see a little bit more from him. And I was talking to Ben Grant about it, and it seems to be the thing is just that he's trying to do too much because he's trying to take over in those spots that when McManus would normally be the leader in the situation, and like no criticism to him because he's doing a phenomenal job at it, but it's just sometimes leaving to cover a run gap, it's leaving a passing situation over. Up, next batch of fries are done. So yeah, it's just they need that. I just want to see a little bit more out of him because I think they're that close. Uh, they're that close to being in the right situation with him there. Second batch of fries already.
apparently, and that's why we love doing the show live because anything can happen on live streaming. But as for the Argos, I think the X factor. Jerry and Grant's so easy to say. I think it might come back to the running back. I think McMahon.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to go with him to have his best game of the year. I think he's going to be an X factor for the Argo Thursday night.
yeah. The wet weather would definitely help his game out if that is the case.
Nick, as we wrap up this show, let's do our CFL Week 7 picks. Before I do that, what did you think of the other games this week besides the Hamilton-Ottawa game? Obviously, Calgary crushing Saskatchewan 24-10, and then BC demolishing the Edmonton Elks as well. And BC had the ball for over 42 minutes in that game. That is a dominant performance by their offense.
Yeah, that's what just makes BC such a weird team right now. Like they'll go out and dismantle Edmonton, but then they'll struggle against teams like Winnipeg or Calgary or Saskatchewan. So I'm really not sure what to think of them, and I think I'm probably just going to wait in that opinion to see when closer to when they come to town for the CNE game. And then to be honest, I didn't really see a whole lot of the Saskatchewan Calgary game because I was in Hamilton getting ready for that game. Yeah, I guess the thing I'll comment on that is like with the smog advisory, like that was really disappointing. But like I get that the CFL could have maybe done a more proactive job, but it's just like a thunderstorm. Like if you like the weather's fine, the smog index is medium or low in the morning, and then suddenly it spikes to 10 an hour before kickoff. There's not really anything the league can do. It's the same. We might see it in the Toronto game this week. If a thunderstorm goes off 5 minutes before they're supposed to kick off, what the hell's the league supposed to do? Like you've got your protocol in place that you can't, for the protection of the fans, you can't play for at least another hour without there being another lightning strike. If another one happens, then the clock resets. there's nothing really the league can do. Like, I guess aside from maybe having called the game a bit sooner, maybe because 4 hours
Yes.
was a little long.
Yes,
But
and be honest, Nick, too. It wasn't an easy situation, but a lot of these Saskatchewan fans are like 2, 3, 4 hours away. So, I think next time, if it does happen in whatever stadium, they've got to make a decision a little bit sooner than wait 4 hours and then call it.
yeah, well, and again, like that's part of the challenge. Like how rescheduling a game in Saskatchewan is different than trying to reschedule a game in Toronto, for instance. Like you could, yeah, you can reschedule a Saskatchewan game anytime, and fans would still go, and you can schedule that game whenever. It's really hard for the Argonauts because half the time they play, and within 2 days, TFC has a game at BMO Field after. So it's not like we can just say, "Oh, we'll just move the game to tomorrow." It's not as easy as that. So, and
I,
I don't know about Montreal being in the same situation with it being a university stadium, but yeah, same kind
I
of thing.
do. I do think they do need to look at the weather situation as well. And Trevor Harris said something too as well. I want to do a little bit of rant here for about a minute or two. I know TSM brought in Luke Wilson and Matt Dunnican didn't come back. As for Luke Wilson, right now I guess he was brought in to stir up the Hornets nest with the fans, and I mentioned this to a former CFL broadcaster. I said he's basically the CFL's version of Pat McAfee, and he's there to get ratings and views and to stir the pot up on social media. But I think the focus should be on the positives of the league instead of looking at the negatives. So it would be nice to see a little more positivity out of Luke, but I understand why they brought him in, and it is obviously for ratings and stuff like that. But I don't know if he comes to Hamilton at some point this season. I don't think he's going to be cheered. I think he's
I
going to be the villain when he comes to Hamilton at
I
some
think
point.
I think Labor Day game, from what I've heard, is the one that they're having the whole like panel and crew in. So that would probably be the game. Have you ever spoken to him? Like, because I know your summons on the field, BMO Field, and I know he was there the one week.
No, I have not had a chance. I have not had a chance to speak with him, and I don't know him personally, but I have been reading his tweets on X and Twitter, and he is kind of getting the Hornets' nest stirred up. And to me, he kind of reminds me of the CFL's version of Pat McAfee.
If you want a really good read or tweet, kind of minor thread to read, go see our friend Dallas at CFL Fans Toronto, all one word, no spaces or underscores or anything. Really good comment here. Some teams draw the most fans, others cheer the loudest, sell the most 50-50 tickets, raise the most for tackle hunger, have the best official pregame party, have the best pregame tailgate, present the most family-friendly game day, have fans who are the most knowledgeable of football X's and O's. Some honor the traditions the best, some travel to away games the most, some have a younger fan base, some celebrate diversity better, some honor first responders and Canadian Armed Forces better, some have the most game day and local media coverage, and some buy the most merchandise. So the exceptional piece of writing, Dallas, like what it comes down to is that we all celebrate the league. We all celebrate the game in our own way. And I don't think it's right to pit one fan base against the other as some having the best fans or the worst. Like it's a very objectionable lens that you look through it from.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. And what I like about the CFL, Nick, is I've only been doing this for less than 6 years, and this league has taken me in as a media member. Obviously, doing the Grey Cup a couple years ago in Hamilton, the Toronto Argonauts have given me opportunities. Hamilton has now given me opportunities, and I've been able to talk to Simone Lawrence, Rick Zamperin, a whole bunch of legends in the league, and they make you feel a part of the CFL family. The NFL, as much as I love it, it is so corporate, and you're just another number or whatever as media. But with the CFL, Rod Smith comes in and he's like, "Hi, Chris, how you doing? Looking forward to the game tonight." And Rod Smith, to me, is a legend with TSN and does a really good job about the CFL. And every announcer, they all have their unique styles, but they all do a great job. Rod Smith, Dustin Nelson, Marshall Ferguson. They all do a great job, and Paul Laplice as well. Paul is a really good guy, and I really
Yeah.
think TSN.
Caper,
Sorry.
Cape Burness, Enoch
Yes.
Malumba, Matthew Shinetti,
Yeah.
John Liu.
They do a good job. And by the way, since we're talking about this, Matt Stiegel is going to be back on Thursday Night Football. With,
Yeah. Happy to see Milt back. The Winnipeg home game against Calgary.
Absolutely, and yeah, he's one of my favorites on there. They all do such a great job, and I want to give a shout out to the camera guys too, because I talked to the TSA and camera guys, and there's a lot of guys behind the scenes that make the on-air guys look good, and they need to get credits too. The producers, the directors, the audio guys, the camera guys, since I did camera work for many years as well.
Hear me out with Milt Steele coming back. What they need to do is at Winnipeg, they need to have Enoch race the world's fastest cow again, but have him like with something on his head. And when the cow inevitably wins, have him take it off, and it turns out to be Milt Steele. That would be the best intro.
Okay, Nick, as we wrap up this show, CFL Week 7 picks. Toronto and Montreal Thursday night, Calgary, Winnipeg Friday night, Saturday, Saskatchewan and BC, and Hamilton and Ottawa on Sunday Night Football. Let's go with your picks, bud.
Yeah, this is hard, but I can't keep picking Toronto every week. It's killing me. So I'm gonna pick Montreal and hope if I get proven wrong and they win a game, then that's the sacrifice I make. Sacrifice my fantasy picks. That's fine. Calgary and Winnipeg. I'm gonna take Winnipeg at home. It's another sellout crowd. Saskatchewan and BC. I'm gonna take the Riders, and Hamilton and Ottawa. That's a tough one. I'm going to pick Ottawa to not make those mistakes. So I'm going to pick Ottawa to bounce back.
I'm going to step out of my comfort zone this week, and people are going to call me crazy, but I'm going to pick the Argos over Montreal in an upset. And I think McMahon is going to have a big game, and I think he's going to be an impact in this game. So I got the Argos over Montreal in an upset. Winnipeg, I think, is going to take care of Calgary. I think Winnipeg's going to remember what happened to him in Calgary. And then BC Saskatchewan, that is a very good matchup. But I think if the good BC Lions team shows up, they'll win the game. But who knows? So I'm going to go with BC because they're at home. And then Sunday night, Hamilton and Ottawa. I'm going to tell you this. I think the Red Blacks are going to get their second win of the year. I think Ottawa will get a win, and I think Drew Brown is going to have a big game for Ottawa on Sunday night. So Argos, Winnipeg, BC, and Ottawa.
Just in case anybody's wondering, on the CFL Pick'em site right now, based on the fan choice, so like one vote, like percentage-wise, so far it's 90% Montreal over Toronto, 66%, so 2-1, Winnipeg over Calgary. It's almost 50-50 even split. It's 53 BC over Saskatchewan, and then it's 80% Hamilton on the road over Ottawa at home.
Besides the Toronto-Montreal game, what other game are you really going to be paying close attention to?
Probably Winnipeg, Calgary, I think, because I really wonder, Calgary won pretty handedly against Winnipeg, so I gotta think that, especially with them being at home and another sellout crowd, Winnipeg's going to be really wanting to even out this series. So I think that's going to be an exciting game to watch, especially if you're a Bombers fan.
And finally, Nick, what are your final thoughts for this episode?
Yeah, just the Argos just got to keep finding ways to get better each week. It can be challenging, but the mental focus is there, and you see it in camp. There's not an urgency. There's not a loss of the room. There's not infighting among players. There's still a lot of positive energy there. So they just got to get it together, and Montreal's as good a place as any to do it. It's where they started the season, and if they didn't really get off to a great start in Montreal, but if they come in here the second time and they win, maybe they pull that momentum in and pick off a couple wins against Winnipeg, and then you're really rolling. So yeah, that's what you just got to focus on, winning this game. Don't worry about the bigger picture yet.
I think Toronto is 1-4. Don't really want to drop to 1-5, so I think they're going to be desperate. Montreal got off to a good start, 3-0, and have lost back-to-back games, obviously to Hamilton and BC. I think this is going to be a really good game, and I wouldn't be shocked, Nick. I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game, but I wouldn't be shocked if this game went down to the final play or even overtime.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I hope so. Definitely rather a close game than a blowout.
Finally, Nick, where can our audience follow you on social media, your Argos articles, and you'd like to promote your YouTube channel?
Yep, as always, you can find me on Nick Small 38 with underscores in between on Twitter and on my YouTube channel. My website is smallsportsblog at wordpress.com, and you can click the link just through my Twitter profile page. Yeah, I'm hoping to have an article this week. One of the things I did was I went to the CFL Hall of Fame that's in Tim Hortons Field after the game. I have some very interesting perspectives of it as a historian. I won't bring it up today, but I'll probably have that up in an article and a video within the next little while. This is going to be one of my first big projects that I'm working on. So hopefully I'll be interested in hearing my take from it as a historian and not just as a fan. So that's kind of what I want to do professionally. So good a time as any to do it. So I hope you all look forward to it.
All right. Well, Nick, thank you for coming on to season 4, episode 5, and look forward to doing episode 6 next week with you. Date and time to be announced, hopefully this weekend. And hopefully we'll be able to talk about an Argo win over the Alouettes. And then we'll preview the Argos' upcoming home game on Saturday, July 26th at 7 o'clock against Mike O'Shea and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at BMO Field.
Yep. Thanks, Chris. Take care, everybody. And as always, go Argos.
Thanks, Nick. All right, guys. That concludes season 4, episode 5 with Nick Small and myself. Again, I've got the Argos winning, Winnipeg winning, BC winning, and Ottawa winning as well. And for those people out there, if you'd like to advertise your business on the Argo Bounce Podcast show with Nick Small and myself, it's a weekly show. Independently, we talk about the Toronto Argonauts and around the CFL. So we're on about 21 different platforms. So if you're interested in coming aboard the Argo Bounce Podcast show as a sponsor, advertise your show on here, please contact Nick Small or myself. You can email me at cpomay19@gmail.com. The show is done both live stream and on audio and is on all social media platforms as well. So if you're looking to come aboard the Argo Bounce Podcast show, contact either Nick Small or myself at cpomay19@gmail.com. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching our show on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, X, and Instagram, and to everyone listening to this on audio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and wherever podcasts are available. And please check out my TikTok page at Chris Pomay for more Argos content there as well. And again, I want to say thank you to Nick Small for coming on here, and look forward to doing episode 6 of the Argo Bounce Podcast show next week. Date and time to be announced as well. And as we wrap up the show, guys, the next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is going to be on Monday, July 21st at 7 p.m. with my special guest, Susan Sager. She is a comedian and actress out of Los Angeles, California. So check out the next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, Monday, July 21st at 7 p.m. And the Argo Bounce Podcast show with Nick Small and myself will be back next week as well. Again, thank you to everyone watching this live stream and on my audio platforms. And enjoy the Major League Baseball All-Star game tonight between the American League and National League. First pitch is right about now. And enjoy the CFL games this week. We got 4 of them: Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And the 2 games I'm specifically interested in is Toronto, Montreal Thursday night, and then Sunday, Hamilton and Ottawa in the rematch of the game that I was there last week as well. And please check out my social media pages for pictures, videos, and some pre and post game interviews with members of the Hamilton Tiger Cats and Rick Zamperin, the longtime voice of the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the Tiger Cats audio network. And he's also the host on CHCH Morning Live as well, and one of the good guys in the Canadian Football League. Have a great night, everybody. And as always, go Argos.
Go, Toronto Argos, go, go, go. Pull together, fight the foe, foe, foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the top. Pull together till the Grey Cups won. Go Argos, go, go, go. Go, Toronto Argos, go, go, go. Pull together, fight the foe, foe, foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can